Hey scholars, I know today you just finished taking a test on the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, and we're going to do a little follow-up. When I get back next week, we're going to dig in a little deeper, but I want you to do a little bit of work on this while this is fresh in your mind. I'm going to show you a few books that are considered classics in the area of slaveography, history of slavery in the United States. And then, like I said, we'll dig back in, but I got a little assignment that I want you to work on with some colleagues. Just a couple of books. A classic came out in the 1950s. You can tell I have used this a little bit. It's called The Peculiar Institution by Kenneth Stamp. That's what the Southerners had referred to the institution of slavery as, is the peculiar institution. And keep in mind that in the South, the pre-Civil War South, about 75% of the Southerners did not own a slave. Slavery was especially, and then if you look at the big slave plantations, 100 or more, that was probably a percentage point or less of the entire Southern population. So it was a few folks that controlled the slaves in the slave plantations, and they were the folks who controlled the economy as well as the political structure. But Stamp, he took a look at what was it that helped slaves survive during this particular, this brutal period of their history. Another person in the same period of time was Stanley Elkins, and he wrote a book, short title, Slavery, and he wanted to know also, and he examined how could slaves handle the brutality, all of the shocks and detachments in their life from when they were captured in Africa and brought across, and the terrible conditions and the millions that died along the way. So he takes a look, and he does an interesting comparative history, looking at the Jews during the Holocaust and how they survived their shocks and detachments, and the slaves and how they survived their shocks and detachments. And he comes up with an interesting comparison. It's not a comparison to see which group suffered the most. That's not the point. It's just that how does one build a personality to handle such a brutal system? And we're going to take a look at that a little deeper when I return to class. So we got Stanley Elkins. Another classic is Winthrop Jordan's book, White Over Black, and what it's attempting to do is determine how did American, United States area, how did its views start to develop toward the black race, the African race. And it's an interesting study in not only language, but also sociology. So we will take a look at that. And then if you take a look at Wrong Bennett's Before the Mayflower, he takes a look at slavery, and he says in here in one part that slavery was old when Moses was young, indicating this wasn't an institution that started in this country. It roots in other nations on other continents. But a powerful book if you are interested in further reading. Novel, a very powerful novel, Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin. And a little connection, Harriet Beecher Stowe had a little summer getaway over in what became Mandarin eventually. And then also a local connection, we have a Kingsley Plantation out by the zoo off of Heckscher Drive. And an historian from the University of North Florida a number of years ago put together a little booklet on the Kingsley Plantation. Those are just some of the pieces of literature in the area of slave history and how it had an impact in our country. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to work with a couple of people. And really today I would love for you, you're on your honor because I'm not there, to work with two people you have not worked with in this class before. And you got two things I want you to do. On a piece of paper, and I'd like you to submit one paper for the whole group. Just write on slave, halfway down, plantation owner, flip the page, the top, write small southern white farmer, halfway down, abolitionist. And what I want you to do with this is to come up with a description of slavery, and it'd be a description of slavery, and we're going to say 1850s United States of America. So it's pre-Civil War. Now the hard part of this is you got to put yourself, your mind, in the 1850s. And when you do each one of these, I want you to describe it as if a slave were describing, for the first one, what slavery was. Give us descriptive words. What was slavery? Then, you're flipping it. You're a plantation owner. From the plantation owner's mindset, how would he describe slavery, the institution of slavery? So it's not our mindset, it's not your belief. Slave, plantation owner. Then, how would a small southern white farmer in the 1850s describe slavery? What does he see it like? And then finally, an abolitionist, person who was working for the abolition of slavery. All right, so that's the first part. And I want this to be descriptive. So use your adjectives. Really make it pop. Okay? Got that. The second part, the last part, what were the costs of slavery? And I don't mean in dollars and cents, but what were the costs to the slaves themselves? How did this impact the slave population? What was the cost to the plantation owners? And what was the cost to the nation as a whole? So the cost to the slaves, the cost to the plantation owners, the cost to Southern society, the cost to the nation. Okay? 2 pieces. Find 2 people you have not worked with. Learn a lot, and I will see you shortly. Bye-bye.